beasts hit speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour. And if you're rattling along on the ocean wave, that can be very dangerous. Tony Palmer was there to follow the action.
Time up in a major marathon, Mark Stewart and Peter McGrath of Auckland in the 33-foot Cougar Cat, powered by two 350 Chev inboards. For several years, the dominant smooth water pairing of Graham Horne and Bob Menzies, an EIT mover, 32-foot Robson Cat with triple Mercury 2.4 V6 outboards. Probably the fastest outright, Jesse James, a 30-foot Chris Craft American Cat, powered by two 372 Merc Cruisers, driven by Ross Tebbs and Ken Grant. From Australia, the three times Aussie champ Stephen Shampoo, a 36-foot monohull, two 496 Chev inboards, crewed by owner Stephen Ackery, Russell Wright and Kevin McCarry. And last year's runner-up, renamed Andrews Mover, 27-foot Robson Cat, twin 225 Evan Rhodes, and driven by Warwick Dawson and Tony Crane. Stage 1 is 83 nautical miles, taking them around Auckland's Waitemata Harbour and north to Whangarei. The forecast for slight breeze and virtually flat, calm water, which means the quickest will finish in about an hour. Conditions are ideal for the lighter, high-powered cats. Immediately, the trio of quick cats, EIT mover, Milia Group and Jesse James, establish the pace. And it's crunch time now for the rookie crew in Milia Group, with 6 days and a real mixture of weather ahead. Jesse James is New Zealand's fastest offshore boat, and Ross Tebbs and Ken Grant are keen to prove the point against Australia's big guns and big budgets. Stewart and McGrath's Milia Group is not likely to win a flat water drag race, but offshore marathons usually provide enough variety to suit a compromise boat overall. On the other hand, Horne and Menzies in EIT will be hoping today's conditions continue. 100 miles an hour becomes less than half that speed and even a metre of swell. By Kawau Island's Mansion House mark, Jesse James is clearly in the lead and topping the ton. But not far behind is EIT, with Graham Horne literally flying his super light hull, anchored only by 3 propellers.
The boat is really only sitting on the propellers and about maybe 6 inches of the back of the boat. And it starts to skate a little bit, particularly when you go into a corner. A catamaran is really just a giant aeroplane wing. And you've got to be very careful to keep what we call the attitude of the boat right, so that it's running reasonably level. You get it too high, it gets inefficient, and you also run the risk, of course, of blowover, which could have fairly disastrous consequences.
Jesse James has so far averaged 93 miles an hour. And as they enter Whangarei Harbour, they look like clear stage winners, if they can hold off EIT. But just when all seemed well with this top-end duel, Ross Tebbs and Ken Grant hear the expensive sounds of one big V8 tearing its top end apart, reducing them to half power. Horney needed no second invitation. Shetland Shampoo is third, but over 13 minutes behind the front runners. The other Australian hope, High Nautic, is fourth, but clearly leading Class 3. Peter Turner's Sleepyhead leads National B Class by nearly a minute. But the first day's glory belongs to Horn and Menzies in the IT. Auckland to Whangarei in 63 minutes. Try doing that by road.
So flat, calm water on day one and absolutely nothing for these rescue fellows to do, happily. Conditions that suited absolutely the triple outboard Robson Cat of Graham Horn. The remarkable thing wasn't that he won the leg, but his average speed of 92 miles an hour. And he did the last third of that race with only 2/3 horsepower.
Obviously the weather was going to be flat on the first day, and I figured that I'd have to go out and run hard, which is something you really do in a marathon. I had to run hard and put it right back on the inboards and see if I could cause them some mechanical problems. And unfortunately for them, that's what happened. Ross was in the lead right until he got into Whangarei Harbour, and then he had that unfortunate engine blow.
The Whangarei Street Parade is a chance to bask in glory for the winners and a chance for the public to see just how big some of these rigs are out of the water. Onarahi Yacht Club plays host for Day 2's start. Jesse James won't see this start. Instead, there's a quick dash to Auckland to repair an engine. Stage 2 from Whangarei to Opua in the Bay of Islands is 77.5 nautical miles, and again, the light weather conditions will favour the speedy more than the brave. Quick to establish a lead is the 27-foot Robson Cat Andrews Mover. A pre-race pick, but unlucky so far. EIT is sitting back slightly off the pace as they pass Marsden Point with 70 miles to go. Meanwhile, up front, Mark Stewart has decided to reel in Andrews Mover and apply pressure to the field by setting a pace hopefully only his Millier group can stand in the absence of Jesse James. Stewart's tactics work perfectly, and as they reach the misty Bay of Islands, even he's surprised by his stranglehold on the marathon.
Are you surprised to lead as easily as you did today?
Yes, yeah, very surprised actually. I thought Graham Horn in the IT would have been a little bit closer, but I understand he had a bit of a problem afterwards. But our boat is sort of set up a bit more for the rougher than calm. Those guys can do it in the calm but better than what we can, I think. So it was good. We enjoyed the run up here anyway.
We suspected that we had a problem with a computer box. It's a fairly common problem with these electronic fuel-injected Mercuries. We got down to Bream Head, and the motor just died right back to about 3,000 revs. That dropped me back to about 55 mile an hour, so we decided to carry on. We got about halfway up to Cape Brett, and simultaneously the middle engine completely destroyed itself, and the left-hand gearbox broke a shaft. So we were effectively immobilised and had to be towed back in.
So the overall race leader at the moment is Stefan Ackery of Australia. He's inherited the lead through others' misfortune or mechanical breakdown, but he doesn't like to look at it like that. He doesn't like to win by default.
I like the way you put it. I didn't inherit anything. I finished both legs and I pushed them very hard, so I didn't really inherit anything. In boat racing, it's the person who crosses the line, so you don't inherit anything.
Okay, weather report. It's nor'westerlies, 15 knots. Getting up later in the afternoon. There's a swell of about 1 metre. Course and control is as per briefing.
Race pace will be different though on stage 3.
With the start today, we'll get Dick just to talk on that in a moment, but with the finish line, we'll be in exactly the same position as yesterday, but we will endeavour today, if we can, to have a couple of orange or red buoys hoisted up the mast of the yacht so that you can see it.
Day 3 of the United Marathon in and around the Bay of Islands. It's a course around here of 73 nautical miles, and they'll finish back here at Offshore. Because of the swell and literally hundreds of landmarks, stage 3 will be a day where navigation plays a major role. Accurate compass bearings and hours of plotting homework will pay off for the more diligent crews. Jesse James is back in action. Both engines are back to full power, and a sleepless crew are anxious to make up the lost day. Finally, conditions suit Australia's high nautic. The 28-foot Shark Cat's getting the best from its 2 Yamaha 225 outboards, and the Morley brothers quickly settle into second place, clear leaders in Class 3. Jesse James's crew are already suffering the effects of a compass that doesn't quite equate with the course bearings, and their leader's about to be gobbled up. Stewart and McGrath have Millier Group right up on course, and the Cougar Cats revelling in the swells. The inboards help make it a perfectly balanced craft, and extending their overall lead seems effortless now. Stefan's shampoo gets better as the going gets rougher. Russell Wright's navigation's perfect and well researched. A move up to second overall looks well within their grasp. Meanwhile, the highs and lows of a marathon come to haunt Horn and Menzies and EIT. Flyers in the flat, they're reduced to snail's pace when a swell prevents the benefits of aerodynamics. Peter Turner's Sleepyhead still leads National B class, and as you can see, conditions like these become a boy's own adventure in a smaller muller hull with a single Yamaha 225 hung on the back. Class B honours are extremely hard fought, and while Sleepyhead leads, neither Andrew Sinclair in Chindit nor brother Paul in Cairo is going to make it easy, dangerous or not. The do-or-die dicing by the Sinclair boys is the highlight of the day, but only for the half-dozen or so helicopter-borne spectators lucky enough to watch it. This is the scrap for second and third in class. But the leaders have already finished, and Millier Group has taken the overall lead.
Mark, our points tally says you've just taken the overall lead. How does that feel?
Pretty good. Yeah, quite surprised, actually.
For relative rookies, you're pretty new in the sport. Are you surprised at how well you've gone?
Yes, very much surprised. We've put a lot of hard work into it, and it's paying off now. So, no, we're quite pleased.
You're obviously upsetting a few of the established people here and one or two of the overseas fellas as well. Was it your plan from the start to keep a relatively low profile and sneak up on them?
Our plan from the start was just trying to finish the whole series in one piece.
Day 4 dawns calm, but the forecast is for 30-knot winds and massive swells offshore. Race controllers are understandably concerned. Mark Stewart knows there's no point in showing concern, especially around the more experienced drivers, and he has enough confidence from yesterday's performance to believe his wooden hull will take the pounding as well as anything in the field, except perhaps Stephen's massive monohull. The helicopter rescue crew have heard the forecast too. Last-minute checks ensure everything's in order should they be needed. They've saved boaties' lives before, and they have no illusions about today's possibilities. Stage 4 is 73 nautical miles from Opua up the coast to Whangaroa Harbour and back again. Navigation's important again, but most drivers are more worried about the size of the swells than compass bearings. If any boat can handle the rough, it's this monster, and Stephen's crew sense a chance of taking the lead when the big stuff appears. Jesse James is not ideal, but can handle some swell as long as they can keep it up on the plane. These first few troughs and peaks must have given Mark Stewart and Peter McGrath a great deal of confidence, as Millier Group seemed quite unruffled and very poised. But there was worse to come, and many were already in trouble. You could almost see the grins on the faces of Stephen's crew by now. While Millier Group battled on, it must have seemed a long, long way to Whangaroa. Stewart faced a dilemma. He couldn't allow Stephen to run away and overtake his overall lead. He had to stick it out, keeping them in view, hoping the organisers would call it off for the sake of the smaller boats, which were yet to encounter these great walls of foam. Mercifully, the stage is cancelled and a chopper is dispatched to turn Stephen back. Points are awarded for the day on positions held at the time of stoppage, setting the last stage up as a Stephen's versus Millier's race. But back in the field, there are more immediate concerns. The sinking boat is Steve Carter and Brent Agnew's Steelmasters. Both are safely retrieved from the brine, but salvaging the boat won't be as easy. Just getting a tow line attached is risking life and limb. Back at Opua, there are many exciting tales being told as wet and bedraggled crews emerge, wondering aloud what might have happened had the stage continued.
How was it out there?
You can probably see for yourself. It's pretty bad. Yeah, real bad.
How was the boat holding up and all that?
Oh, yeah, it was holding up all right. We were bogging down a lot, though. It just those engines aren't designed for that sort of work.
Rough. Off, off.
Oh, listen, we were going for it. We were heading up there. They called it off. And that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
Absolutely atrocious, Tony. Yeah.
A little bit worrying.
Well, it would have been if we'd carried on, that's for sure. I think you would have got boats going in all directions, and not only that, I think that 90% of them wouldn't have made it anyhow. Simple as that.
The prize giving that night at Host Harvey for the Bay of Islands stages was warmer and drier. But as the night went on and the stories got bigger, no less noisy or safe, especially with a rest day to recover in prospect.
Already in progress here behind us, race briefing for the final day, and it's become a classic Australia-New Zealand battle. Whoever wins this final leg between Milia Group of New Zealand and Stefan Shampoo of Australia will win the marathon overall. The 25 knots sou'westers forecast haven't yet arrived, and it looks like it may favour the faster cats. A win here for Milia Group of New Zealand would be a remarkable feat for what is very much a rookie crew.
The final stage of 71 nautical miles will take them from Whangaparoa to Auckland, a straight drag race in which Milia Group has only to stay ahead of Stefan Shampoo to take victory for New Zealand. Straight out of the blocks and dicing at 110 miles an hour, Jesse James and Milia Group romp away from the field, and more particularly from the Australians. Simultaneously, radio messages and black smoke signals spell potential disaster for Stefan Shampoo. Miraculously, the crew escaped the inferno and the explosions, picked up by a rescue crew. They can only stand and watch as fierce flames engulf their pride and joy right down to the waterline. The good news is they'll still finish second overall, and the boat didn't sink. Meanwhile, oblivious to their rivals' demise, Tebbs and Grant and Jesse James scream on, topping the ton, in the lead of the stage and looking for third overall. As they pass the more sedate craft at Devonport entering the inner harbour, the final stage is theirs. Stewart and McGrath don't need a stage win. Even if Stefan had not been a fireball, they only needed to finish ahead of the Aussies. Second on the stage was convincing enough. Ross Tebbs kept the hammer down right to the checkered flag, making up for a day lost with engine problems and thoroughly enjoying the stage winner's glory. Milia Group sounded as though it would last another marathon as it reached the line. Ross Tebbs and Ken Grant and Jesse James first, but third overall. And Mark Stewart and Peter McGrath, winners of the '89 United Marathon. Back at base, Stefan's support crew have just heard the bad news and they're bewildered by it.
Because we can't understand it because the distinguisher system was on it.
It was an automatic system. As soon as you pull the button, or there were sensors in it too, they set it off automatic. There was no gas or anything coming out of the engine.
No,
just...
At least the boys are all right, the main
yeah, no, the guys are good as gold.
building on the boat, I suppose.
Perhaps one even as fast as Milia Group.
Congratulations, guys. Well done. Is that the way to start as a rookie?
Well, it helps, I suppose. Yeah.
You surprised how well you've got?
Yeah, we are fairly surprised. You keep your fingers crossed all the way.
Thursday obviously had a little bit of rough stuff there. It didn't look like a lot of fun. Is that your introduction?
Yeah, it's not what we look forward to in boat racing, but if you've got to do it, you've got to do it. So.
How much pressure did you feel today, Mark?
There wasn't a lot out there, but we had to keep the pace on a bit. Couldn't let Jesse run away with it all, but we just wanted to come home in fairly good position, so